Chapter 3 Dylan's Deal. Hello, Sunnyside Realty here. How may we be of service? Dylan said when he picked up the phone. Dylan owned a real estate company, and so far the company had been doing fairly well. Good day. I'm looking to buy an office building in the city. The man on the other end spoke. Good day, sir. You made the right choice. When would you love to visit the location for a tour? Dylan asked. The man on the other end paused for a while before saying, well, I'm out of town for a month. Perhaps when I return. We'd be waiting to hear from you. Sir, thank you for choosing Sunnyside Realty, Dylan said to end the call. Hey, Dill. Finally closed a deal, Annie said with a wink when she stepped into the kitchen to see Dylan leaning on the counter. Annie was Dylan's older sister. He had stopped by to visit her that day. Oh, please, there wasn't a good pun, sister. Dylan teased his sister's joke. I'll Killjoy. I trust you to spoil all the fun, Annie remarked, making silly gestures with her face. So got one. Annie asked on a more serious note. You really think real estate companies work that easy? He let out, feeling a bit edgy. Well, Annie trailed off. Well, the client is out of town. He'll be back in a month or less, Dylan cut in abruptly, drawing out a stool to have a seat. A month, Dylan? Annie asked, shocked by Dylan's response. I think you just lost a client, she remarked, heading towards the fridge to grab a drink for both of them. Annie was particularly disturbed by how her brother would let a client wait for a full month before he could get what he needed. Lost a client? What do you mean lost a client? Dylan asked, unsure of what his sister meant. His eyes followed her movements as he waited for a response. Okay, what if he changes his mind in a month? What if he finds another seller? What if Annie was able to say before Dylan cut in again? Well, what if he doesn't, Annie? Dylan questioned angrily. He was irked by his sister's pessimism. Even more, he was angry at himself. Despite how much he tried to act otherwise, he knew that Annie had a point. It was possible to lose a client in the 1 month of waiting. He had similar experiences. Okay, chill out, Dylan, Annie said, hoping to cool off her brother's anger. Annie didn't say anything to Dylan immediately afterwards. She chuckled and then proceeded to bring out glasses from the cabinet after she had taken a box of juice out of the fridge. You have to be the only one who hasn't heard of Blizzy Codes, Dylan. Annie finally let out as she dropped the glasses in front of her brother on the counter. Oh, great. Tell me about, Dylan said sarcastically while making a face to show that he was tired of his sister's attacks. He took the box which Annie had brought out of the fridge and poured some juice into both glasses. Tell you. I'd rather show you, she said with a smirk before pulling out her mobile phone and a folded paper from her back pocket. Dylan took a sip from his glass and watched his sister. He peeped into the paper which Annie unfolded. It seemed like a poster, but it didn't contain much information. There was only a line of text at the top and a Blizzy Code at the bottom. He struggled to read what was written on it. Ritzy really estate. Let's see in Blizzy Code for DLS. What's this, sis? He asked curiously. A Blizzy Code. I saw it on the wall of one of the buildings on my way back from work, Annie said, as she continued fiddling with the paper and her phone since it was real estate. It caught my interest, so I decided to scan it. She looked at her brother's face and chuckled. She'd tell how anxious he was to see how this worked. So I'm just gonna scan this, and she trailed off as she scanned the code. Bam! There you go, she let out excitedly, dropping the phone on the counter and shifting it towards her brother so he could have a look. As Dylan picked up the phone, she leaned back and folded her arms to say 21 different locations within the city. A virtual tour on all available properties. With this, your client doesn't have to wait a month to see what you've got. Now that's Hotcake Realty. I think this is a better way to do this, she said, giving out a smile that showed satisfaction. Wow, Annie, this is. Dylan was amazed and short of words. He couldn't bring himself to say anything else. Genius. I know. Annie helped him complete his statement. Look, you can't let your competition beat you to it. This Blizzy Code makes things easy. Now you can close that deal, she added, feeling accomplished as she rose to leave the kitchen. So there's a Blizzy Code reserved for everyone, Dylan said, calling back to his sister, who was already at the door.